Happy Father's Day, everyone. Today I want to make a video, just a really quick video talking about password managers. It's something that I wasn't really good about previously, and I've just got, actually I just got a password manager this weekend, and at first I thought, okay, it's going to be a little bit of a hassle to make the transition. So here are some of my thoughts in general. One, why is a password manager why is there resistance against it? Well, number one, it's because generally it's something else you have to look into. So instead of just like setting up a password and then forgetting about it, or you don't forget about it because you have to fill it in manually. Instead, you have to go and investigate: is this secure? How much am I going to be paying? What are the costs and benefits? Let me tell you the benefits first of why you would want a password manager, and then I'll go through the cons and relatively little cons, but a lot of benefits. So for the benefits, number one, you have security, so you're very less likely to get hacked, and also there's something called a stuffing attack where essentially a lot of people tend to reuse passwords. I'm guilty of it. I tend to cycle between a few secure passwords that I make, but I tend to cycle between them. So if an attacker gets one of those passwords, let's say you're in the worst case scenario and you have one password that gets leaked, and then suddenly you use that same password for everything, then that one person just needs to use probably your same email for all of your different services. So maybe your Netflix subscription, your Hulu, your bank account, your what are some things that are damning? It's going to be like your bank account, your credit cards, your financial info, your credit, the three major credit providers like TransUnion, Equifax, and so forth. So essentially, you are much more likely to get hacked. And if you do get hacked, it's something that a lot of people don't think about until they get hacked. Unfortunately, I've had family members that have been hacked. So in one case, identity theft, where they took out lines of credit, like bought a car, bought a house in their name. Thankfully, they were paying it, but still, it was a lot of hassle, like reporting it to the state, reporting it to another state because it happened somewhere else. It's a huge hassle. Another part of it is when, credit cards were like taken out, or like someone had changed passwords for their account, credit cards were taken out. And then afterwards, you have to call the rep, the fraud department. You have to close it, and so it's a really big nightmare, or not a bit of a nightmare, more of a headache. And it can become a nightmare if you're repeatedly getting hacked because you feel like you're being targeted. So it's not good. And the thing is, security is something where, kind of like health, you don't know how much you need it. You don't know how much you should invest in it until you really need it. Or like insurance or your health or any of these things. You won't really understand it until you feel the consequences. So if you get hacked, then you're really going to wish you had it. The same thing if you get in a car accident, let's say you had no car insurance, you're going to really wish you had car insurance. Or let's say you kind of unfortunately, whether intentionally or unintentionally due to circumstances, have not been maintaining your health, and now you have a very consequential disease. So whether it's like heart disease or cancer, you wish I wish I had done something about it. So thankfully, this is not something as as serious as like a health disease, but it's very serious in the sense that you can suffer a lot of stress. You can waste a lot of time stopping yourself from getting hacked, and so this is one great way to do it. So what do I mean exactly by how does it keep you secure? So you have one central location where it's let's think of it as like one account, like let's say your Facebook account. You have one account where you have your username, your password. That one you want to keep really secure. You tell no one about the username, tell no one about the password, and you keep it on your device, and then that will store all of your passwords. It'll store all your username, your passwords, two-factor authentication, your passkeys. It'll be the keys to the kingdom. It'll be everything. You can put your credit card information there. You can put anything that's data related that normally would be security related. You can put your driver's license. You can put your passport. Everything, depending on what you're working with. But there's a lot of different features out there where you could store information. Now, the really nice thing about this is you don't have to certainly remember all those passwords and accounts anymore, and you can have it saved. It also has autofill. So essentially, what the password manager is, it's kind of like an autofill feature, where let's say you're going onto your Chrome, and you're like making a new account, and then it says, "Oh, would you like to save this password?" You say, "Yeah," and then it's saved on your Chrome account now. So if you can get access to your email, you're on Google, you have a Gmail, and then from there you're able to go through your browser. It'll have your passwords retained, which is nice. So a lot of people like that convenience of, oh, I don't have to remember my password. It'll be saved, and I can just autofill, and that's it. The exact same thing here. With password managers, it's just autofill in most cases if it's well integrated. Depends on the product. And so it's really nice in the sense that it gives you that autofill experience, but extra security as well. And what do I mean by that? Well, the password managers, they also have options on how you would like to generate your password. So a lot of times you probably manually enter your password. Maybe you do the fill it up for me, and then it gives you those random characters with like the dashes like Google does. You can do it that way, and that's pretty secure. But what I like about password managers is they'll give you the option to select how complex you want your password to be. Do you want it to be just like 8 characters, which I don't recommend? Do you want it to be 12 characters, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60? Depends on the password manager. It'll let you go pretty high up. And so my sweet spot is if services like applications allow me to, I go up to 64 characters. 64 characters would never be hacked. It would never be brute. Let me rephrase. It would never be brute force hacked, because that would take just way too long. Even 32 characters. Yeah, even like 32 characters is just out of the realm of possibility of really getting hacked. Unless you're maybe like a nation state, but like why would they be wanting to get into your email? And even then, the amount of money they'd have to invest just to get into it, because they'd have to provision a lot of GPUs and a lot of work, computation power to kind of get it. And then there's other safeguards that'll probably lock them out before that even. So anyways, as far as your password, you can set up the length, the complexity of it. And what's nice about that is, yeah, you have really, really strong password, and because it's autofill, you don't have to remember it. You just click, and it and that's all it does. So that's one of the really nice things about a password manager. Now, I will say that it depends on your preference on which one you would like to go with, because there are some that are open source. So for example, it says right here, like Bitwarden is open source, so that way you can, yeah, it's like a, well, actually I'd have to double check it. Yeah, so it sounds like it's free, so you would download the software and you would host it locally, so it's a free application, and then ideally there's no connection with the outside world, so that means it's not really hackable in the sense that, like, let's say you have it set up on a USB, and you don't have it connected, so no one's going to be able to get into that USB because it's air gapped. You could have solutions like that, and so it's like a file. Essentially, it's just a file of your passwords, and then you need to open your USB, get into the file, and then from there you're going to be able to use it. It doesn't have to be a USB; it could be on your computer as well. But the whole idea is with an open source is that solution, instead of like a proprietary solution where so you install it locally, and then it's not feeding to like a central server. But you'll notice Bitwarden does have a cross-device syncing, so that's where, I'm not sure how they set it up, but I imagine then they have a central repository where the information is going to their servers and then back to another node of yours. So that's where there's a bit of a concern, because then becomes reputation based on the company. Okay, so if the company has a good reputation and you're confident that they're not going to get hacked, or you're confident that the company is not likely to give away your secrets, give away everything, because it has everything, right? Depending on what you store, it could be your passport, it could be your credit cards, it could be all your accounts. This is where reputation really matters. So you want to ideally pick one, so research one that you feel comfortable with, you think has a good reputation. Not just the cheapest one. Cheapest one might not be the best one, might be the best one. It just depends, right? You want to go with reputable and secure, so that you know that your data is also secure. And that's why people like the idea of like open source, and I have it local, so it's like a cold storage in a sense if you're into crypto, and no one else can access it. And so yeah, it's just kind of like if you had a file on your computer. Now with that said, I talked already about the autofill, how it makes it really easy. I talked about the complexity, and the fact that you can make all your different passwords of different complexity or high complexity. It makes it so that let's say someone some website you go into unfortunately does end up leaking your password. They can't go to another website and also use that same password to get access to all your other accounts. So that's a huge saver, just because that tends to be a weak point in security, where it's a single point of failure where you have one access. Well, technically, single point of failure is one part of the mechanism breaks, and then that breaks the rest of the chain. In this case, also your password would be a single point of failure, where if it's used the same on different services, then they can access and compromise different services as well. What are some other things I want to say? In conjunction with a password manager, I do recommend forms of two-factor authentication on top of that. So say for example, you already have a long password, let's say like 20 characters, 32 characters, 64, so some long number of some long character password. It's also good to still have two-factor authentication, because if it does end up getting leaked, they still need your, let's say you do it with the phone, your phone number. They still need your phone number in order to then get in and log in. Another way you could do it is you can use an authenticator app. So authenticator apps are also really popular. You probably used one, but it sounds a little strange. It's an application where you scan the QR code. You can enter it manually too, but you scan the QR code for a certain service, and then from there it'll generate a 6-digit password every 30 seconds. So every 30 seconds is generating a new password. Those are called one-time passwords, OTP. And then you enter it, and then that's your other form of two-factor authentication. So you can do your long password, so that's really secure, plus two-factor authentication. That's awesome. Sometimes it's called not just 2FA, but MFA, multi-factor authentication. Makes sense because it could be multiple, not just necessarily two. That's also something that I recommend. Now, within your password manager, there's probably also, you want to check for additional features of security. So you want to make sure that username, that password is very strong and no one knows your username. Also, your password's really secure. And you don't want to forget that one, because then that gives you access to everything else. Even then, there's additional safeguards depending on what you're working with. Additional safeguards as in, let's say someone ends up finding my 1Password account information. Okay, they can go into that. But even then, you still need two-factor authentication to get into my account. So you have to go to one of my devices, and you have to get my phone, and from there you also have to use the OTP. Even then, I put a smaller password, so that which is different from my other password. I put a smaller password that once again I know, and that lets me see the accounts. Okay, and then also I think it's every 5 minutes, I have it set up so that every 5 minutes, if I don't use it, if I'm idle, it'll lock me out, and then I put like a code on it. So I would put a code, and it's all stuff I'll remember. That's fine, and that's the only thing I need to remember. So it's really just, in a sense, 3 passwords. Really, that's keeping me safe, and then also through obscurity, because no one knows my no one knows my email, no one knows my password, no one knows my other password, no one knows my other code, and then that keeps all my other accounts safe. That's what's really nice about it. If someone really wanted to get access to your accounts, then it'd be very difficult in that case. Usually what they'll rather do, just because this makes it at such a high difficulty to crack through it, very unlikely. It's much easier to do social engineering. So social engineering means like they'll give you a call, they'll hope that they'll pretend to be like an IT person or be your bank, or and they'll pretend to like need your credentials because there was already some attack that happened and they need to switch it up. So you need to give it to them, or maybe you get a text and it tells you to do click a link and give them your info. That's a lot more likely to happen. than to do it with being able to hack all these systems of software that are um, highly, I don't know how to say, they're highly tested, high quality systems. The reason I say that is because the companies, all these password manager companies, they're based on reputation. If they get hacked, then no one's going to use them anymore. So they get hacked once. That's all it takes, once. It's dead in the water. No one wants at all to touch something that's been hacked, because why would you, right? Because then all your data's gone. Um, so that's part of the research as well, and that's part of why the companies themselves, the password managers, they have a high, how should I say, high incentive. They're highly incentivized to put their best foot forward and make sure that they don't get hacked, and so that the weakest point in the link still becomes the user. And once again, like phishing attacks, social engineering attacks, and so forth. So yeah, I really recommend it. Now, as far as like how to make the change, how to make the transition, once you set up your password manager, you probably have a lot of different accounts. So think of like all the different accounts that you have. Some are going to be critical, some are not going to be critical. So like your bank accounts, that's going to be critical to change and update to make sure to harden and to add two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication. Other accounts are probably not going to be that important. So like, let's say you made a account for Little Caesars or like Subway or any of these like little like food chains, or like let's say you made an account for I don't know, like H&M and stuff like that. It doesn't really make a difference if those accounts necessarily get hacked. It's going to be annoying if those accounts get hacked, but it's not going to be very consequential. You're not going to be like, oh man, I should have really changed it. Why didn't I do that earlier? That's probably going to happen all with all your financial information and so forth, your 401k and everything related to financial entities, your credit. So one thing that I did is the first thing I secured was my emails. So all my emails, I secured them. Thankfully, email providers, they allow you to put easily up to 64 characters. So now my emails are really secure with all random text of 64 characters. So it's not brute forceable. And once again, they also have MFA, so it's really hard to get in there nonetheless. And then usually you always have to sign in you always have to kind of vouch that this is you logging in with another device. So it's pretty secure, and that's the reason why you want to make those emails secure is because then, as you already know with other accounts, whenever you make the account, the email is your source of truth. So if you need to reset it and a password, what does it do? It prompts you to go to your email, and then that's where you can reset it. So if they compromise your email, then the game's over. So what you want to do is you want to first target all your emails, if you have multiple. All your emails, make sure that they're secure. After your emails are good, then it's your financial information. Make sure to change that up. That's pretty much the critical stuff. That's the only thing I would say. Try to do it more immediately. It doesn't have to be right away, but I just think of it, I ended up doing it all in one day. I ended up doing all the critical information all in one day right away. And then I noticed the password manager made it so easy to make the transition to just like update my passwords and everything. It was a bit of a bummer going through the sites and just kind of having to put like change the password, or in some cases websites didn't have that, so you have to put the forgot password in order to reset it. So for web developers out there, whenever you make a website, give the option to change the password, so to set the password, instead of just the only way to set it is through the forgot password mechanism. It makes it easier for people who want to, or more security conscious. But with that said, it made it so easy that I just kept changing everything. And yeah, everything was like a high password. With that said, but I would go from high critical to low critical. Don't spend time doing like Subway when you should be doing like your financial information. Next thing I wanted to say was you don't have to do it all at once. You know, I did it all in one day just because it made it easy, and I got into it, and it was good. But you could do it over time. So as you log into that account, it says, oh yeah, let me use my password manager to autofill. Oh, here I am. Let me go ahead and update that password. So you can do it over time. It doesn't take long. It gives you peace of mind. The other thing to consider is that in terms of passwords, not all not all websites are made the same. So some only allow you to do like different character lengths. I think I mentioned this already: 20, 32, 64. Um, and that's a bit of a bummer just because ideally, now that you have this tool where you can max it out, you would want to be able to max out every time. And I understand why websites don't do that, just because it's wasteful from a memory standpoint. They probably don't want to use extra storage on their servers for something where most people generally don't go past 20. Generally, people aren't going past 20 characters. They think, and I myself think, like a secure password is probably like 12 to 16 characters. It's like, oh, okay, that's pretty secure. For something you have to remember, yeah, that's pretty secure in a sense, because you have to remember those number of characters. But for something where it's autofill, go as many as you want. You want 200 characters, 500, you know. um, uh, Now, with that said, you have to keep in mind of those limitations. One other thing is, whenever I change the password, I made sure to then log out and then re-sign in with my password manager. So I re-signed in with my password manager, and it worked. Yeah, it worked, and in some cases it wouldn't, and that's because in your in your existing passwords, you might have repeat passwords. So for some reason, maybe it gets logged in correctly. You might have an account for I don't know, let's say like Subway, but there's like 3 different login ways to get into Subway. So there, in your autofill, there's 3 different Subways that come up: Subway 1, Subway 2, Subway 3, or like there'll be different websites for Subway. What you want to do is if you already changed the password on one, you want to update the password on the same one. So let's say they're all the same login, but it only updated it on this first one. You want to copy it and then paste the password here and here. And so that's something to consider, that you might have multiple logins to the same website on your autofill. Another thing that is probably important, and I spent some time, was usually I save my passwords through Chrome, right, through your phone or through Chrome. And so one thing you can do is you can export your passwords. So be careful about this. This is very sensitive. You want to export your passwords, and like ChatGPT can help you, like Google search can help you, but all you do is you export it into it'll do it into CSV. It's a comma separated value file. Essentially, it's just like an Excel file, but with commas. It doesn't have to be commas. It could be semicolons, any delimiter you want. But essentially, at the top is the header. So it'll tell you like what website it's for, your username, your password, and other information. And then at the bottom is all your accounts. And the thing is, it's in plain text. So it's in plain text, and that's why you want to be really careful, because once you're done, so once you export them, you then import them into your, it probably has it available, your password manager, but you can import them. So then that way all your passwords that you already use in typically in autofill, they already get transferred over, so you don't have to start from scratch and add them manually. That's one good way to do it. The only thing I will say is sometimes the way you export it is not the way it's looking to be imported. So it might be slightly different, and you might just have to change a few things. Don't put any of this information into ChatGPT. You can put like the name of the headers, but don't put any of your personal information in there. If you want to put an example, change the data. Okay, so like let's say your password is actually there, change it to like ABC. And your email's there, change it to like abc@gmail.com. And just do it so that it can help you with like the formatting if you need to change anything. But don't ever put your data or like your passwords into like any of these LLMs, because then it can spit it out for someone else. So if you that's the only thing that's a little bit technically challenging, where you might need to change a file. That's pretty much it, like export and then change a file and then import. It can seem daunting, I'll be honest. That's probably the one thing that's probably challenging and like is a bit difficult, or I would cause people to say like, it already works, why would I go and change it? That's the only thing that might cause pause to someone. You don't have to do this step, you can, but I'm pretty sure the export import, you can get it done within like a few minutes. It's not too bad. It's just Ideally, it doesn't take you more than like 20 minutes, I would say, but it really shouldn't. Um, then what you want to do is you want to delete it. So those CSV files or your password files, you want to delete those because you don't want them hanging around. So if you export it, you import it and you delete it. That's it. That's it. No more. You don't want those laying around because then that's all your passwords. Um, that's pretty much it in terms of the cost to do it. Now the other part is the financial costs. Financial costs are pretty inexpensive. You'll notice that some of these are like $2 a month, $3 a month, $10 a year. Wow, that's really really good. Um, it doesn't cost much to do it. So whichever one you want to go through, remember make sure it's good reputation. You're comfortable with it, and the cost is probably really low. Like if I could pay, like even if it was, let's say, like $3 times 12, $36, let's say 40. Even if it was $40 and you told me like all my digital information was much less likely to be hacked, I would pay for it, and it's autofill. That's great. I would do it. I mean, I have done it already. So this is just to say that um, I understand the resistance to not want to do it, because generally we don't want to add more work to our we don't want to add more work to our plate if we already have a lot of work, and we don't want to like look into things necessarily and get this ball rolling, because it seems like a daunting exercise to like update all your passwords and so forth. You don't have to do it all at once. You really don't. You can do it bit by bit. Ideally, the most sensitive to the least sensitive. You don't even have to do the least sensitive. Like if you don't want to update Subway or Pizza Hut or any of those, or like H&M, you don't have to. Like, okay, so they got compromised. That's fine. Let it get hacked, and okay, cool. You're, it's probably a low consequence. On that note, there is another security thing that I mentioned, and that's that whenever I do payment methods. So this is the reason why I say, like, with those little things, I don't worry about them getting hacked necessarily. Like, I'm not trying to get hacked, but I don't worry too much because I put a credit card on file. And if my credit card gets hacked, like let's say someone's, not necessarily the credit card gets hacked, but the service gets hacked and people start using it to like order 20 pizzas or 100 pizzas. That's never happened to me, but let's say it does. Since I'm using a credit card, that's the credit card's responsibility, their fraud department, to kind of take charge and get on top of that and make sure that doesn't happen. So they kind of have the liability in the sense. I don't have any liability apart from informing them that this purchase was not me. I have to report it, let them know as much as information as I can, and then the financial liability doesn't fall on me. So like, let's say they do order 100 pizzas for like $10 a piece, and it's like $1,000. On that credit card, yeah, it'll owe $1,000, but then they refund it back to me, and then they go after the person who actually made that malicious purchase. So I'm not ever worried necessarily if my credit card gets stolen, someone uses it. I just report it stolen, or I report it that it's being misused, and that's it. That's why I love credit cards. I love credit cards. I don't recommend using them for like repeatedly for like purchases, in the sense that like you don't want to spend money that you don't have. That's a whole nother financial discussion, but I love credit cards in the sense that like it protects you. It really does protect you from getting wiped out or getting financially stolen or getting your money stolen from you. So a good example, the distinction is like, let's say you use your debit card. If you use your debit card and someone bought those pizzas, then I'm on the hook for it. If someone bought, most of the time the bank is going to say, "Oh, it's on your debit card." No, you can go kick rocks. That's you lost your money. That's it. The bank's not going to care most of the time for debit cards. They don't care. The only time they've ever cared is I've seen on the news when usually it's like a veteran that got their money stolen, or someone that's like, it seems more sympathetic of the situation, where they say like, "Oh, okay, this looks bad." The bank's starting to realize the optics of it looks bad, and then they turn around and say, "Oh, no, I never told him to kick rocks. Of course I'm gonna cover this." But for the most part, for like, I would venture to say over 90%, 99% of the cases, if you get money stolen for your debit card, that's it. That's a wrap. You lost that money. If you do it on a credit card, you're fine. Because you just need to report it, and then that's their responsibility. So that's why, like I said, if I have an old account, Now I'm going to try to keep it secure, but like let's say if they have access to a credit card on file, if it has these malicious purchases, then the person who's buying it is in much more risk, just because the credit card companies are going to go after them pretty viciously, and and I'm not going to owe any of the money. So this kind of like combines some of the discussion of like how I try to keep digitally safe. Yeah, password managers, really great tool. It's so nice to be able to say like, oh yeah, I got this max security, and and I feel kind of silly because I almost get like outraged when I see websites that are like, oh, you only allow 20 characters. It's like it's like you guys are so outdated if you only allow 20 characters. Because now I can do like 64 or like 100 or but in reality, like you don't need to go past 20 for all intents and purposes. 20 is good. If it's random string, 20 is good. I just like doing 64. Like I just like maxing it out whenever I can, because it's easy. It's easy. I click a button and then it's done and that's it. And I don't have to remember it. It's autofill. But you do want to make sure you keep it secure. One last tip that I have is, ideally you want this access on all your close devices. So let's say obviously most people nowadays use phones for the most part, like smartphones. For the most part, you will probably want it on there, so it's easy to access and while you're using it. If you have a computer, you want to use it, or like a laptop, you want to use it on that probably. So you have two places where you can access it, and this just makes it easier so that let's say you get a new phone or a new laptop, whichever one of the two. What you want to do is you want to transfer over your data and then wipe it. But in that time, you always want to have at least two devices, in my perspective, that have access to it. So if you ever get locked out of one, you still have it on the other, and you still don't lose access fully. Now, that's something that can happen, is that because these are secure, if you do, depending on the company you go with, or if you do forget, or you're not able to access it, that might be it. Like you can lose all your data, so you want to make sure it's just really you can set it up so it's really just one password. You don't have to do all those 3 passwords like I did, but it's just one password to remember everything. One email, one password. That's it. You just have to remember not to forget that one. You could write it on a piece of paper, and you can have it, have that paper, at home and in 2 different places, and that's it. That's all you need. Have it on 2 devices is my recommendation. You could do it for more, but at least 2, I would say. Yeah, and it's pretty nice. So thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a great Father's Day. Please let me know if you learned anything from this. The whole goal is to make you more secure, just because I needed to be more secure, and now I am. I'm much more secure as a result. And it's really easy to do so. It took me about a day to get like from pretty low, I wouldn't say low security, like low to mid security, to now very highly secure. Because I would have 2-factor auth and I would have strong passwords, but only a group of them that I would rotate. But now it's really, really long passwords. I have my 2-factor auth, and yeah, I have different ways to secure myself. So thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I appreciate you watching.